Week 15 DST streaming. It is the first week of the fantasy football playoffs, and for you today, I have just that, my best DST streaming options on the week. I cannot lie, have to be transparent. There are not the juiciest of juicy matchups this coming week, but I do believe I have found some of the best ones as far as options that are streamable. So no, I'm not going to talk about the Eagles and the easier matchup that they have this week. No, I'm not going to talk about the Denver Broncos or any of these teams, or the Houston Texans, any of these teams that are overly rostered. But I'm going to talk about people that should be available in the majority of league sizes out there. The first DST that you should consider streaming in week 15 is the 49ers going up against the Tennessee Titans. In the past handful of weeks, the Titans offense and Cam Ward has looked better, but on the season as a whole, they can't run the ball, they can't pass the ball, they can't move the football, they can't score points. He's taking sacks, he's throwing interceptions, and this team has been abysmal. The negative thing is the secondary for the 49ers, regardless of what everybody else out there will tell you, is not that great. They're not that great at getting sacks. They're not that great at getting interceptions. They're not that great of a defense. They're actually realistically a pretty bad defense on paper. What I do know, though, is their offense is pretty good. They're going to be able to score points. This should set it up where Cam Ward has to pass the football to catch up, and that should put them with this Robert Saleh-led defense in bad positions. I think Cam Ward will get sacked. I think he will turn the football over. This game could be lower scoring because the 49ers do not need to do very much to beat the Titans. It's also one of those things where they need to win this game to get back in the playoff race. Obviously, they're still safely in the playoffs. It is one of those things where they still have to be fighting every single week to win these football games. So I think the defense puts the pedal to the metal this week and beats down Cam Ward. Maybe not a top 5 scoring option, but definitely a streamable starting option for 10 and 12-man leagues. I like to normally have the majority of mine be viable in 8-man leagues, but this week there's just not as great of matchups. The next DST I am considering streaming in week 15 is the Miami Dolphins going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bad news for the Dolphins, kind of like the 49ers, their secondary is pretty bad, but they are stopping the run more and more efficiently every single week over the last 4 weeks. That should set it up where Aaron Rodgers has to pass. We also know the Dolphins are going to score a lot of points, so Pittsburgh is going to have to throw the football. Aaron Rodgers, broken wrist, broken whatever, old man out there. I do think Miami has a chance to be like a sleeper team in week 15 as far as a DST streaming option, because it's not like somebody you're like, yeah, I want to stream the Miami Dolphins. No. It is kind of a spicy streaming option, but I do think they are out there playing their butts off. They are giving it everything they have on both sides of the field. There's a small chance, kind of like an outside chance, this is a lower scoring to a middling scoring game if the Steelers defense can step up as well. But again, I just feel like Aaron Rodgers is slowly falling off the cliff a little bit. I think this is a chance for Miami's DST step in, pop off, have a really good game, try and win this football game. I think they're going to end up winning the game. That all sets up where I think they're going to be able to take advantage of Pittsburgh's lack of passing efficiency and lack of pass catchers that are actually elite guys out there. It's pretty much GK Metcalf and a bunch of guys. Pat Freiermuth is a good tight end, but he's not elite. So I do think this is a week where you could get away if you need an option and you are in a tight spot to stream the Miami Dolphins against the Pittsburgh Steelers in week 15. The next matchup I'm looking at is the Saints going up against the Panthers. The Saints and the Panthers are both basically averaging the same points scored, points allowed, yards average, and yards allowed average. The good news for the Saints, they have looked better and better on offense every single week, and their defense has stepped up in the past few weeks as well. They're getting some sacks, they're creating some turnovers. We saw this in the matchup earlier in the season with Carolina going up against the Saints. At this point in time, though, you would think maybe you could stream the Carolina Panthers defense. I think their secondary is pretty good, but I do think Tyler Shuck is playing better, so I'm not comfortable streaming the Panthers. But when it comes to the Saints, it's not a must-win game. They're obviously already out of the playoffs, but I think that they are able to play spoiler, and I'm sure that will get them fired up to beat the Panthers. Panthers probably win the football game, but I think it's a lower scoring game, probably like 17-14, maybe it's 21-17. It shouldn't be super high scoring. You have the chance to get some points if the score is actually lower scoring from points. As far as yards go, it'll be pretty close as well. Again, not my favorite matchup to stream this week. I like Miami more. I like the 49ers more, but if you were in a tough spot and neither one of those defenses are available, especially if you're in a larger league and a lot of league mates are streaming for the playoffs still, which would suck, or maybe they locked up their rosters already, they had defenses that you would have wanted to stream this week, I think they're a decent enough option, probably a bottom of the barrel top 12 option in week 15. Again, that's actually streamable, right? The next matchup, the next DST that I am considering streaming is the Chiefs going up against the Chargers. Chiefs defense hasn't looked that great on the season. Run defense is pretty good. So that means that Justin Herbert's going to have to throw the football a lot. And we saw what that looked like in week 14 against the Eagles. I think there's a potential for this Chiefs secondary to take a big step up in this game. They have to win. The Chiefs defense and offense as a whole has to step up and it has to win this game, or they are basically not like mathematically, but I feel like they're pretty dang close to mathematically eliminated if they lose to the Chargers. Obviously, they can't win their division, but maybe they can make a wild card spot. But if they lose again, it's pretty much over for them. So I think you're going to see the best output from the Chiefs on offense and defense. I think Chris Jones is going to get a decent amount of sacks, maybe 2, maybe 3, all by himself against Justin Herbert. He's not quite as mobile. He's not quite as accurate. There's a potential to get a couple of turnovers through interceptions or fumbles on Justin Herbert. I think this game is the game where Kansas City puts everything they have on the line. If they are able to score a decent chunk of points against the Chargers, not only are they stopping the run with their front four and like their run stopping defense, but also the Chargers are going to have to pass a lot more than what Harbaugh wants to do and what Herbert is going to be comfortable with. I think this is a week where if you are a Kansas City Chiefs fan and you want to stream because you're streaming defense and you want to stream the Chiefs, this is probably one of your best weeks to do it. It may not be the best matchup with the Chargers for the past 3 weeks or bottom 10 in scoring. So I do think the Chiefs defense can hold Justin Herbert and this team in check. They probably end up winning the game by like 3 points. Lower scoring football game, defensive minded football game, and I think that they are able to dominate the defensive matchup against the offense of the LA Chargers in week 15. The last matchup, and it is my favorite. I would say the Kansas City DST streaming option is my second favorite. My favorite option and probably the best option that is streamable, mind you, streamable in week 15 is the Jacksonville Jaguars going up against the New York Jets. The Jets on the season are averaging about what the Jaguars are allowing for points and for yards. That should set up where you're able to get points from this Jags defense for not only points allowed, but yards allowed against the Jets. If Tyrod Taylor is playing, he's coming from what? A growing strain? Yeah, mobility, not so much. Do we know if Garrett Wilson's going to be playing? No, we don't. If it is the backup quarterback, it is the juiciest matchup on the week. It is an absolute smash spot. If we are on the backup at QB, this Jaguars defense is going to be nasty. They are going to get interceptions. They could have 2 or 3 interceptions on the day and it would not surprise me. They are going to get some sacks. They probably could force a fumble. At this point in time in the season, the Jets are allowing a lot of sacks. Like I already mentioned, the Jags are going to get sacks. They're throwing about an interception a game. It's just not a good situation for the Jets, whether it's Tyrod Taylor hobbled out there or the backup quarterback. Should be a lower scoring game. Breece Hall's not going to get it going. It is not a game that any of the offense for this Jets team is looking forward to. Neither is Aaron Glenn. I think the Jaguars defense absolutely beats the brakes off of the entire offensive unit for the Jets in week 15. I think the Jags are legitimately one of the best streaming options in the week. They should easily finish as a top 5 option. So if you need to pick up a defense and they are available, I think you need to go all in on the Jags defense because they are highly, highly streamable, especially if we're on the backups QB, and that's where we're at. It should be a great game for them in week 15. Alrighty, so there is my top 5 options to stream at the DST position. My favorite 2 obviously are Kansas City and the Jags, who are obviously at number 1 for me on the week as far as streamable defenses in week 15 that I obviously have the most confidence in. If you're in a larger league, if you need a 1-week wonder, if you need a 1-week pickup, if you need to pick somebody up on the waiver wire, I have the video for you, depending on how injuries break, who ends up playing, who doesn't play, and depending on what happens going into week 15, watching the practice reports, especially, I have some really good options for you this coming week that I think are viable streaming options, 1-week rentals to help you win in week 15 of the playoffs. So if that is you, go check out the video. It'll be somewhere here on the screen. And like I mentioned in the previous video for my waiver wire video, I am going to be doing an early start, sit, fade, play, call out video that should come out either tomorrow or potentially on Thursday, but you're going to want to watch that video as well, obviously before the Thursday night football game. So I'll have that video on here somewhere as well. Hopefully I'll see you guys. No, hopefully you guys will see me again real soon. And until then, y'all have a blessed day. Bye.